Hey guys, this is the man on the street. Most certainly and most recently, we're seeing a complete shakeup in Trump's and the Secret Service that protect the White House with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Now, today's date is posthumously is we're observing, so much so like any other holiday, more so because it's politically inclined to do so. We're asking the same questions. Like we're asking who's going to endorse Kamala Harris, Biden. It's not as easy as question when you're just going to have to ask who is qualified and who is more precluded to do their job efficiently. Now, when we ask other questions pertaining to that exact same idea, is ask about bi-polarization. Now, this isn't looking like if it's the first female president, black or white, or what criteria are involved. But the real questions we must ask is how bi-polarization will see. Now, just like about a few minutes ago, I was talking about a person about the same principles apply in America when we're talking about people's equity of their own votes to vote liberally. Now, like that means like you're going to be open-minded. You're not going to be too conservative like it is today, but you're going to ask the same question. It's the same question when you ask Obama from Chicago who wanted to run against McCain. Now, correspondingly, when we ask the same questions, we have to ask the same question where Senator McCain was senator in Phoenix. It's the exact same state that Trump lost when you're looking back. But that's neither here or there. What we're really saying the question is when you vote for someone, that candidate might lose. And that runner-up, after McCain had to succeed George Bush, they knew 8 years would be Democrat. Meaning is every 8 years, if they were a second term in the United States, they would normally go the opposite way. So it was 8 years of GOP, they would have got 8 years or 4 years of Democrats. That's how it goes. So McCain knew this, but he fought an honorable ticket for his nomination. Even though, I didn't vote for Obama, it doesn't say more so that it would bipolarize me just because he's black. Meaning that say if he qualified later in his tenure, in his 4 to 8 years, what he did domestically, and then we can argue that point. Undifferent to say now with Kamala Harris, to use that exact same reference point. It doesn't matter if that person is black or white or male or female, who could do the best job, even with the circumstances involved. So when you put those dynamic in equations, then you could see how bipolarization could work or could not. But that's up to the person who depends on that vote. So when you're asking the average person today, asking the same criteria, who they're going to vote for, it's not like a relationship. This is about the next 4 years and about Republicans talking about what's happening in the blue state of California. Now, that's not my persuasion. This is the persuasion of the public. So when we're asking about the same crisis that's involved other countries, including the influx of immigration and amnesty programs, we have to look at the criteria of every country. When I'm on the street right now, this is the main thorough, right? So this isn't about equality, indifference, well, we could say that most justifiable, but in America it's more disparaging when they're disparaging that idea between the polarization and divisions. So we got to make sure why do our city and other cities run alike? Because it gives us an opportunity. In today's world, we're asking about the same conflicts that were arisen when we're growing up. During the 80s, the most we had to worry about is the remnants of the Vietnam War. And after studying that, like most people did, you try to come to the best equation. But I'm not going to here try to make dimes and nickels about today's values and what has entailed afterwards. When you look at both sides, they always argue the same thing. No matter who your enemy, who your patron is, who you're fighting with, you have casualties on both sides. So when you go to these places where they've risen to that elevated risk of hostile indications of saying how those countries portrayed their hospitality, you can understand that too. So when the end of the day, they say that both sides lose, not one side. So this is why we try to use multiculturalism, socialism, and other predicaments that Canadians have grown to love, and which is always a predominance. Now, for myself and I, and many other people in our community, we know what legislative bureaus can be entangled with policies. So when you're talking about housing, equality, this is where we understand in Toronto, all the bar is heightened, in particularly of those contested regions. So, as Netanyahu would know, he would come here freely, so much so, like he travels in America, but it doesn't give him jurisdiction to cause that inlay. When we cause that issues pertaining, it doesn't matter how much your money got. Just as much as the U.S. budget, it soars, so does his responsibility. To incur that war effort and the price tag to it, people accommodate that to ramifications after World War I and after World War II. And it was always after, it was like, who started it? It's not a contestant on Judge Judy to determine that. These are people's lives. So when you argument, and sometimes, Stephen King can write a good horror movie, and so can John Grisham. This is the man on the street.